unfriended, while the others were lost to the streets. It was Mimo only ever who came and kept company with him. A boy mute, imperious, sweetly piss-smelling, stool-top observer of things spectral and material, who, instead of football and coal-thieving from the rail yards, opened the alley-oop door, as it was also called. There wasn't any handle and the lock was long busted, but a stick wedged in the bottom right corner would send it swinging, and unlonesome the hottest hours in the back of the bakery afternoons, when the ovens smoldered for the night, and the glass doors that opened for the public were locked and blinded. In truth, the baker wished his first or last would come instead, the two that owned their mother's talent for flattery, chin-wagging, exuberant high-pitched singing of patriotic songs, not to say of scrubbing and sweeping. Despite all his thrift and toil, he had failed throughout the boy's younger years to lay up enough treasure in this world to provide a private room for their sleeping. All three shared a Murphy bed in the parlor, or, in truth, at times to furnish the Sunday table with meat or poultry, or to purchase decorator items to enliven the parlor walls, or flounces for the curtain hems, or a sign of any kind to label the bakery storefront, or to pay an assistant's wage, so that all the bakery's many chores he did himself. The boys he kept in school. Their mother rolled counterfeit Cuban cigars at the kitchen table. D'Agostino, the usurer that owned the consignment store, one of his clientele, told him it was the superstition that you couldn't spend what you didn't have that had kept the serfs in the fields. You can't even afford a spinster to punch the till buttons and shell your almonds, which goes to show, he argued. No, but it went to show instead the limit of what the baker should hope to own. He understood that America had become great by extending the right to earn money even to money itself. But this was, to his mind, a practice of the uttermost corruption, since out of whose hands was the first money taking the second money but those of the man who had made it in the sweat of his brow? And therefore no account at any bank bore his name, since where would the interest have come from? Usury. Although he otherwise felt toward his chosen country a tenderness only such as he had seen young girls struggle to conceal for their fathers. His hopes instead were unpurchasable and plain. He knew what they were. Well, he knew what one of them was. He could describe it in words, but wouldn't tell you if you asked, because it wasn't for your ears. He was only a modest person, was not eminent in any way, and his clientele, even the children among them, didn't use his family name but called him Rocco, as though he were their servant or cousin. He was susceptible to dread. At the least expected time of sweet lonesomeness, in the earliest of morning hours while he bumbled down the bepuddled alleys beneath the tenement balconettes, where in summer months the caged-in children snored beneath the washing, under the yellow dark clouds of coal smoke, dread leapt from the shadows and pounded him in his face. Or later, at 4 in the a.m., while he filled the proofing shelves with the day's 180 oblong loaves, slowly but slowly rising all around him, all white, picture a colossus in a mausoleum of innocence. Or while he was coaling the oven, the dread descended and clocked him. At such times, what could he do to protect himself but name the dread, and hope that that would sap its force? So he spoke inwardly the biblical warning that described it so much better than he could on his own, and described as well what his role was in the universal scheme, and the consequences of failing in that role. The first time he heard it was at the Mass for the last one's baptism. Monsignor read it in Latin, and he didn't follow. Then in Italian, and he wasn't paying any attention. Then in English, and it did its terrible work. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. He was the father of 3 sons. He loved them so as the Lord...